Hello, Jazz Band. Thank you for watching yet another one of these silly videos. And I am going to start a series for you guys on just the basics of swing. It is kind of a complex topic and not something that you really necessarily get anywhere else. And especially since we have so many new people this quarter, I really wanted to give a good foundation of what I mean when I say swing. So veteran players, it's still good for you to watch these. I don't think you probably understand absolutely everything there is to know about swing. And so hopefully this will kind of give you a refresher too, since we've been away so long. Apologize, I'm still working on the lighting in my new space. So I know my face looks really weird. I promise you I'm not sick. All right, so one of the first problems we encounter when we try to play swing is that what is written and how it should sound is not the same thing. And so they write just eighth notes, but what we want to hear is something more associated with a triplet feel or uneven eighth notes. And they don't bother to tell you that in the notation. They just write normal eighth notes. They write the word swing above it and they say, good luck. If you're a jazz player, you know what to do with this. And I know that some of you are going to say, so why don't they just write it correctly? And that's probably a very long, complicated answer. And even if we could come up with a good answer for that, it wouldn't change the fact that it just isn't written that way usually. So let's not waste a lot of time worrying about that. Let's devote our time instead on figuring out what they mean when they say swing the eighth notes. Okay, so first, just a very simple example. Think back to when you were on the playground and you're on those big swings and it goes up and back and up and back, right? It's a rocking, swinging motion. And that's the basic concept behind what we call swing. It is pretty smooth. You don't just come up and then chop right back down again unless the swing breaks or some dumb thing like that. But in normal circumstances, it is pretty smooth and you feel exhilarated or kind of like the idea that you're flying through this, and it's a very gentle, wonderful feeling, right? Full of lots of energy. If you think about all the physics behind a swing and how that works, there's quite a lot going on. Swing music is very complex as well. Okay, so let's get back to the problem of it not being written the way that it sounds. And I've got a couple examples on MuseScore that hopefully will give you some visuals on what this means. I hope, come on, computer. Okay, so I first started off by saying that people who write down swing music do not write what they want to hear. Okay, so if we actually wrote down what we wanted to hear in swing music, it would be more of a 12/8 feel than a 4/4 feel, and it would be more closely related to triplets than eighth notes in the first place. Okay, so with that in mind, this is an approximation, an imperfect model of what the music will sound like. Notice I have groups of 3 eighth notes together, and the first 2 eighth notes are tied together. So it sounds uneven, right? All the eighth notes are not the same. And let's hear just a little bit of this. It's kind of an annoying sound, so I apologize for that, but just pay attention to the rhythm part. Triplet, 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 triplet. Okay, so hopefully you were able to hear the triplet feel underneath, and the tri and the pull of the word triplet were both tied together. So it would really, if you were counting it or saying along the word triplet, you would say triplet, 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 triplet. Okay, with that concept in mind, example number 2 is really a cleaner way to write it. Still not perfect, And I'm just going to play a little bit of this one. Right? So again, we have this imperfect model of something written down that is supposed to approximate what we hear when we hear swing music. What they actually write is not triplets at all. In fact, most often it's in 4/4 time, not 12/8. And they just expect you to play them unevenly. So you're still going to hear uneven eighth notes. It's not, all the eighth notes are not the same. If the word swing was not on here, you would play this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We call that playing it straight, or playing it in a classical style or a legit style. All those words mean not swing, right? So when the word swing is above there though, you really need to play this unevenly. So the first eighth note is longer than the second eighth note in a group of 2. So hopefully the computer will approximate this for us. You can still use the word triplet to do this. Triplet, 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 trip, right? One more time, see if you can hear the triplets. Let me go back. Helps if you click the right button. Apologize. Okay, last time. Okay. So this really is a pretty simple concept. It takes way longer to explain it and show you written examples than it does just to tell it to you, which is of course how jazz actually started, was just by hearing it from one musician to another. But there is a lot of value in understanding what we are trying to accomplish. So I did my best to try to write it for you so that if you are really new, or even if you're not, you can understand what is going on underneath the rhythms that we're playing in class. Okay, so the next question is, how do you practice this? We're already practicing scales, say yes, right? And so you can easily swing scales in eighth notes. And I have another little example just to show you what I mean by that. And this is a 2 birds with 1 stone exercise. If you're supposed to be learning your scales for all your other classes, you might as well practice how to swing also for jazz band. So that way you make the most of your practice time. So here's the last screen share of this lesson. Give me a second. All right, so once again, they write this, swing, and then they just have the scale. This is how it looks, right? Just normal eighth notes. What we want to keep in the back of our head is this 12/8 feel over here. Notice one more thing, I put the word smoothly on top and have this big sweeping slur line or phrase marking. This is to kind of explain to you that swing is a smooth style. For the most part, the underlying feeling of swing is the smooth rocking motion back and forth. It has a lot of energy. There are a lot of articulation styles to go along with it, but the underlying feeling is that of smoothness. So if you're going to play these scales and you just swing it, you sound like a computer, right? That was very square sounding, even though it was swing, right? Computer did do uneven eighth notes, but it was pretty choppy and did not give you the feeling of being on an actual swing and gently swaying side to side. When you articulate every note like that, that's what you're going to get. And you're going to lose certainly what the swing masters were trying to accomplish with their sound. This is a little bit better, but again, it's a computer, so it's not perfect. But see if you can hear a difference. Still a little bit hokey, okay? But for you, in your practice time, you can certainly smooth that out and make it a lot hipper than a computer could, right? So if you're gonna go dooby dooby dooba 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 doo. Yes, there's a little bit of motion in there. You're swinging back and forth, but it's not choppy. It's not do ba 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 do. Right? There's a lot of beginning jazz bands that swing like that, and it's just not correct. So we want to do better than that and smooth it out. Okay, so practice your scales like this as smoothly as possible. In fact, when you're practicing swing scales, just don't tongue them at all, except for the very first one, and see if that can help you smooth it out. All right, that is by no means all there is to knowing how to swing. There's so much more. And I'm going to be sending out several of these short little videos. I'm breaking it into small bits, both so that you can spend some time thinking about it before I give you the next part, and so that it doesn't take up too much of your time outside of class in watching it. You don't want to have to listen to me for any longer than you have to, right? So for now, keep working on your blues stuff that we talked about last week, and also see if you can start kind of feeling what swing is like and getting your head wrapped around the fact that what you see on the paper and what comes out of your horn should not be exactly the same. And next week, we're going to start talking about some articulation styles and some ways to make swing even more like what it's supposed to be than what we've done so far. So until then, happy swinging, and I will see you in class on Thursday. Bye-bye.